Hello and welcome to the third and final edition of InTouch, the weekly magazine programme that's been bringing you coverage of this year's Rugby World Cup. I'm Sean Watts.
And I'm Patrick Baines. On this week's show, we have an interview with former Gloucester captain Adam Boulding.
And we'll also be bringing you analysis of how England became the first ever host nation to get knocked out of their own World Cup in the pool stages. So now we're joined by Will Freeman, who's been analysing England's defeat and taking a look at social media. Hi, how are you, Will?
Yeah, hi guys. I've been taking a look at the England players' tweets after the game, and they've been very apologetic and reflecting the mood of the nation, really. Mike Brown tweeted, "Once again to all the England rugby supporters, thank you for your unbelievable support to me personally and to the team. Sorry we couldn't be better for you." And it really does encapsulate what the players will be feeling, the country will be feeling, Stuart Lancaster will be feeling, and he's not the only one to be apologising. Richard Wigglesworth also tweeted, "A massive thanks for all the support. The crowd and public have been brilliant to us. So sorry we let you down, and we weren't good enough." And they just weren't. It was just disappointing performances really all round.
Well, as an English fan, what did you? I mean, tough group, of course, but you would have expected qualification at the least.
You really would have expected qualification at the start, and it was the lack of discipline. They were poor at the breakdown. We lacked. It was aggression that we lacked almost. We were poor at the breakdown. We just let the ball be turned over too often, indiscipline, and just fell apart. It was sad to see, but especially in the performance against Australia. Yes, we were poor, but Australia were fantastic. To beat us by 20 points, it was remarkable. And Bernard Foley scored 28 points at Twickenham. No one's ever done that before. 2 tries, man of the match performance. It was just amazing.
You talk about great fly-high performances. That's right up there with the best.
That was right up there.
Yeah. What were his stats? What were you looking at there?
Well, he 37 metres made, 3 conversions, 4 penalties, 2 tries, 28 points scored. That is a perfect fly-half performance. Almost as good as Johnny Wilkinson's against France in 2003. But that was fantastic, really.
So representation in the World Cup, home nations now. Who would you fancy to go on?
Looking at it now, I think the Australia-Wales game is crucial now, because that will decide who faces South Africa and who faces Scotland or Japan. And you'd look at it and go, Australia should beat Wales, given their struggles, etc. And that means Wales will face Scotland in the quarterfinals, which would be fascinating. And you would fancy, as much as Wales are depleted by injuries, Wales to get through that. And you'd also expect Ireland to get through to the semi-finals as well. So, I mean, there is a good chance of some home nation representation in the final, really.
That'd be great, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Well, I'm a Welshman. I'd like to see us to get out of the group was a big effort. I said on week 1 that I fancied Australia to go on and do a job, win this. I think I wouldn't say proved right. There's a long way to go still, of course, but...
well, I've been proved wrong.
You've been proved wrong, Sean. What was your prediction?
As well as our week 1 guess with Tom Bradshaw, we both said that we thought England had a good chance, and shows what we know, eh?
Really should have done. We really should have had a good chance, but we just let down. And I mean, they'll be fallout in the next couple of weeks. Let's go and see what happens. But it was. I mean, let's not forget about the rest of the World Cup, because there is so much more to enjoy. There's so much more to go on, and it's going to be an excellent next few weeks.
Thanks for that, Will. Brilliant stuff there. So now we move on to our exclusive interview with Adam Boulding, who has joined us here in the studio. Hi, Adam. Thanks for joining us. How are you doing?
Morning, guys. How are we doing? We okay?
Great, and yeah, thanks for coming in. So,
Absolute
first
pleasure.
things first. England. What is your thoughts on the campaign?
It's been tough. Pool A, the group of death, certainly turned out that way. I mean, to have such quality teams like Australia and Wales in that group, but also Fiji, who were the South Sea Islanders Pacific champions. That was a tough group, and there's always one of the big 3 that were going to crash out, and unfortunately it was England. I think England will be disappointed in the way they threw the game away against Wales, but then all credit to Australia, the way they pitched up and played. You have to say they're going to take some beating for the rest of the tournament. Yeah.
Lancaster's come in for a bit of criticism with selection and things. What is your take? Do you think he's as a future as the England manager?
Stuart's a great guy. I've had an opportunity to work with him in the past, and he's a fantastic coach. And I almost applaud him for setting out his stall. He stuck to his guns. He wanted to do it his way. The coaching staff around him, they're good guys as well. And when things don't work out, people always come under the microscope for criticism, and that's exactly what's happened to him. I hope that, in my opinion, he stays in position, because I think he certainly is the future, and what he's done so far with the disciplines and the other positives that he's brought to the England setup, I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think the players will feel that they've let themselves down a bit, and they'll be hurting, and I'm sure they'll be wanting to put it right.
And in terms of this last game against Uruguay, do you think it's going to be difficult for Lancaster to get the guys going for it, or do you think they're going to try and smash Uruguay out of the park and prove that they're a decent side?
I think any rugby player will answer. You never struggle to get up for a game when you put the jersey on. It'd be interesting to see what the selection is though. I mean, maybe Stuart will go for more of the squad players, the guys that weren't probably in the starting 15. Maybe they will start on Saturday and give them the opportunity to go out and finish on a high. Like I say, as a group of players, they're young lads. You've had like Burgess coming from rugby league. Give him another season. I'm sure he will certainly benefit from the experience. But also, those players didn't quite make the cut. For example, Luther Burrell, other players to name but a few. And I'm sure that those guys, if they ever get the opportunity to step back in, they will certainly add to the England squad.
Yeah. Whenever, no matter what sport, whether it's cricket, football, whenever England do badly, there's so much expectation in the limelight. There's always talks of, big revolution. Where do you see the future for England rugby now?
Well, like I said, I think England have made history. They're the only host nation never to make it out of the group stages. Yeah. So again, it's tough for England to swallow because look, we're a proud nation. We love our sport. We love our rugby, football, and cricket, and all the other sports that go with it. I think England have just got to just hold their hands up. Be honest, they weren't quite good enough. They got the tactics wrong against Wales. Maybe they shouldn't have made all those wholesale changes that they did make on around the 60th minute mark. Maybe they should have just left the players out there to see the game out. But again, it's all those what ifs. So for me, I think they'll review the campaign. They'll see where Stuart and the team are at, and like I say, they'll either make wholesale changes, otherwise they'll stick with the team they've got and hope that they can turn it around.
And moving on from England now, do you think there's a specific team that you think can go on and win the World Cup?
Come on, Japan.
Yeah, come on, Japan. Japanese. Yeah.
No, look, from a Northern Hemisphere point of view, I think France are slowly, quietly building in the background.
Yeah. Very unpredictable.
They
French
are. It depends what French team turns up, and I think the game on Sunday between France and Ireland will be a pivotal game in the competition. The surprise team for me is Argentina. I think they pushed New Zealand all the way. Don't be surprised to see them actually turn over a big team in the knockout stages, and who knows where they might end up. But for me, having seen Australia play the way they did and the accuracy that they had on the paddock, I thought they're going to take some beating, especially if they can get better as the knockout stages progress. Yeah.
We heard you had a bit of a run out the other day for the England legends. How did that go, getting the boots on?
I'm still looking for my lungs, so if you can, if you find them anyway, please let me know. No, it's absolutely fantastic. It was for charity. It was an opportunity to play with a lot of guys who were all retired. Yeah. We're all getting a bit older, but to get the boots back on with such a great bunch of lads on both sides, and the Welsh lads as well. It's what it's all about. And I've been roped into playing next Thursday as well for Matt Hampson 15 against Jules van der Westhuizen's World 15, so hopefully my lungs will hold up for that one.
Yeah. How much do you miss the competitive professional side of playing?
I don't miss the bangs, if I'm honest with you. Yeah. I think the game's certainly getting a lot more physical. I miss the banter with the lads. You miss that team camaraderie. But I've got 2 young children of my own, so it's now time to be the good dad and start getting them into sport and whatever they want to do. And I've had my time, but to stay involved for me with the Rugby World Cup, sport in general, it's been a dream come true.
And finally, just tell us about the work that you've been doing whilst this World Cup's been going on.
Well, just that small thing, the World Cup. It's been a long 2 years. It's been a great, it's been a fantastic 2 years, and Gloucester's been planning steadily behind the scenes, and to have the 3rd largest sporting global event come here to Gloucester, is a real coup for the city, and to not just get 3 games. We've got 4 games. But 4 good games as well. I think it's really put Gloucester on the map in terms of an actual destination. The visitors that have come, we've seen such a variety of visitors from all nations. The Fanzone's been epic. I know you guys have been down there. I couldn't envisage how popular and successful the Fanzone would really be, but everyone's been raving about it. You've seen the way the city centre's been transformed, and the transport and the volunteering, and just everything's come together. And it's not any one person who can be highlighted for this, because there's been such an amazing team of people who've been working hard behind the scenes, really making this 3 or 4 weeks really possible for Gloucester as a city. And I'm pretty sure moving forward, that Gloucester will only benefit from such a fantastic occasion.
Yeah, you say that. I suppose that the long-term legacy, I suppose, is in 20 years' time, if some of the kids who've been down at the Fanzone who've watched rugby are putting on the England shirt, is that the...
Absolutely. You know, I mean, you talk about legacy, but you know, just things like tourism. You know, so people coming to Gloucester, never been to Gloucester before, having a fantastic time, but then wanting to come back. And that's legacy in itself. You know, putting Gloucester on the map in terms of tourism and as a natural destination. But you know, improved sporting facilities, getting people active. Doesn't matter whether it's just playing rugby, just sport in general, any sport. You know, I just think the whole vehicle with sport can deliver so many key messages, and I think the Rugby World Cup coming to Gloucester has really, you know, it's really set Gloucester alight.
Well, thanks, Adam. Really appreciate your time.
Well, I'm afraid that's all we have time for this week.
Thanks for joining us throughout this World Cup. We've thoroughly enjoyed making the programme.
Thanks for watching.